Sixth grade lesson 1.7, multiplying decimals. So a couple things to remember before we begin on this one. Just remember, multiplication is really that shortcut for repeated addition. Instead of doing 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, we would do 3 times 4 just to be faster. So keep that in mind. And where we'd line up our decimals and place values when we're adding, because we're adding those numbers up, they need to go in lined up form. We don't have to do that for multiplication because we're doing that shortcut for repeated addition. So the addition's always already implied. So you don't need to line things up. I kind of think of it like little kids in school and then bigger kids in school. If you look at a first or second grade classroom going from one place to another on the campus, and first or second grades when they learn how to add and subtract, right? So when they go from one place to another on campus, they go in these nice straight little lines, perfect little lines places. So they line up just like you do for adding and subtracting decimals. For older kids, like middle school, when they go places and from class to class, they kind of go in blobs. They don't really line up nicely. So generally. So I kind of think of it that way. You don't have to line up any decimals or place values for multiplication with decimals. You just kind of do your thing. And then I always say, don't forget your babies in the car. And I'll tell you what that means in a minute. It has nothing to do with math. It's just my way of remembering. So I'll tell you in a minute what I mean by that. Also remember, multiplication is commutative. What that means is it can go in either order and you're still going to get the same answer. That becomes useful when you have a number with more digits than another. It's nice to have that one on the top of our algorithm rather than the bottom, because then we have less rows we need to deal with. I'll show you what I mean in a minute too. But what I mean by commutative is if you do 3 times 5, you're going to get 15. It's not going to change if you do 5 times 3. You're still going to get 15. So commutative just means it doesn't matter which order those are in, you're going to get the same answer. So just keep that in mind too as we go through this lesson. All right, so let's look at our first example. This is 9.70 times 38.5. And this is why I mentioned commutative. Usually when we talk about multiplying multiple digit numbers, you know how we get, like, let's say we had 15 times 20, let's say. For every digit we have on that bottom number, I'm going to have 2 rows, right? Because I multiplied the 0 through for the first row, and then I multiplied the 2 through for the second row. So for every digit on the bottom number, I'm going to have a certain set of rows. So when I'm dealing with these multiplying with several digits, I'm looking for the one that has the least amount of digits. In this case, they're the same. But if there was one with the least amount of digits, I put it on the bottom so that I have the least amount of rows. So that's why I wanted to point out that multiplication is commutative. So you can put whichever one on top and whichever one on bottom, and it would come out the same answer no matter what. So keep that in mind. If this had 4 digits here and this had 3, I would stick this number on the bottom so that I only had to do the 3 rows. So, but in this case, they're the same, so it doesn't really matter. So let's go ahead, get this out of the way, and let's set this up. We'll use the algorithm we've been using all this time, and I don't even care with multiplication if my decimals line up. Notice I'm all over the place here, right? I have a decimal all cattywampus. My ones place is lined up with my tens place over here. It's all messy, and it's fine because, you know, middle schoolers walk around in blobs. So you don't have to worry about those decimals at all. You just set it up like normal, all right? Then we just multiply like normal, like we always have, and we don't even worry about the decimals. We completely ignore them. They're like babies in their car seats, sitting in the car, and we're unloading the car with all the stuff, and the babies are sitting in the air-conditioned car waiting for us to get things unloaded. All right, so I multiply the 5 through each of these. For the first row, 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 7 is 35. 5 times 9 is 45, 46, 47, 48. Cross off. Now that I'm reaching across to here, to the 8, I need to say so by giving my one digit step over. 8 times 0 is 0. 8 times 7 is 56. 8 times 9 is 72 plus 5, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77. Notice I do keep things lined up neatly, though. We've got to do the math neatly. That takes care of my 8. And now I'm crossing over 2 spots, so I need to create the 2 spots that I'm crossing over. If I forget those, I end up getting a wrong answer. So don't forget that. You're crossing over 2 spots to get to this guy. You've got to say so down here in your third row. And here we go with the third row. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 7 is 21. 3 times 9 is 27 plus 2, 28, 29. Add all of that up, 0, 5. 8 plus 6 is 14. 7 plus 1 is 8, plus 4 is 12, plus that carryover is 13. 1 plus 7 is 8, plus 9 is 17. And then 1 plus 2 is 3. Okay, don't put the commas yet. I know we're in the habit of putting the commas. So here is the only difference from how you've always multiplied before. Here's the only difference when you're dealing with decimals. Now I'm going to take the time to go back, and I'm going to start on this side of everything. And I'm going to reach into my car, now that I've unloaded everything, and I'm going to grab the baby out. But baby being the decimal. I don't know why. That's just what I say. So it took me 2 seats to reach across. So it's 2 seats there. And then the other baby is 1 seat across to get to there. 1 seat in. So I take those 2 and put them together. That's 3 seats. And I come down here and I count the total, the sum, in. 1, 2, 3. And I put the decimal there. And that's it, you're done. 373.450, or just 373.45, because I can leave that 0 off since it's not sandwiched in, is the final answer. So if you hear me say something silly like, oh no, you forgot your baby's in the car, that's what I mean. You're just reaching across those seats. 2 seats, reaching across 1 seat. That's a total of 3 seats. 1, 2, 3, done. And one thing to note, notice no decimals in the sandwichy space, the workspace. You don't even worry about the decimals there. You do not worry about the decimals at all when you're multiplying with decimals until you get to the answer, and then you go back and find out how many to reach in the car. That's the only thing. So let's look at another example. Again, I like to look at how many digits are on each of the multipliers to see which one I'll stick on bottom because of the amount of rows, and which one I'll stick on top. But in this case, again, 4 digits here, 4 digits there, it doesn't matter. So I'll just go ahead and put them down the way they're ordered anyway. I did not have to line them up perfectly, but it just so happens these do line up perfectly, so that's fine. And I do not have to worry right now about those babies in the car, those decimals there. I'm just multiplying like I've known how for a little while now. So I'll pass the 6 through. I'll distribute the 6 through. 6 times 4 is 24. 6 times 8 is 48. 40, and then the 2 carry over is 50. Carry over again. 6 times 0 is 0, plus 5 is 5. And then 6 times 0 again is 0. That is done. And so now for the next one, I have to skip over 1 spot, so I need to say so. This is super important to not forget. Now I'm going to distribute the 9. 9 times 4 is 36. 9 times 8 is 72, 73, 74, 75 on that carryover. 9 times 0 is 0, plus 7 is 7. And then 9 times 0 is 0. That takes care of that 9. Now I'll be looking at that 0. but I have to reach across twice, so I'm going to put two placeholders for that row to push it over the twice, because technically this is in the tenths place and I need to move it over to that place. I'm missing those other two spots, the hundredths and thousandths place. I have to say so. So here I go. This one's going to be nice and easy. 0 times 4 is 0. 0 times 8 is 0. 0 times 0 is 0. And 0 times 0 is 0. It's going to be just as easy on the next one, but reaching across 3 spots means 1, 2, 3, trying to keep it nice and neat. 0 times 4 is 0, 0 times 8, 0, 0 times 0, 0, and 0 times 0, 0. Add that all together. 4 plus nothing is 4. 6 plus 0, 0, and 0 is 6. 5 plus 5 is 10 plus 0, 0. Carry over. 7 plus 1 is 8. 0, 0, 0. And now the only difference between multiplying like normal and dealing with decimals is going and counting in those babies in the car. 1, 2, 3 over for this one. 1, 2, 3 over for that one, which is a total of 6 decimals in from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's going to go right there. And there is your answer. That is how you multiply with decimals. All right, and then the final practice just does the skills of adding and multiplying them in terms of order of operations. So quick reminder, order of operations, PEMDAS, who you've probably heard already, parentheses. If there's more than one operation, there's a plus and there's a multiply. So if there's more than one operation, we have to go in the proper order. Anything in parentheses has to be completed first, which we have here. Then after those are cleared, exponents go next. Those are, again, those ones that look like 4 to the third power or whatever. We don't have any of those in our equation here. Multiply or divide whichever comes first when you're going from left to right, and then add and subtract whichever comes first when you're going from left to right. So we'll keep this in mind as we go through. I have 0.35 times the sum of 0.48 and 1.24, the addition. But those are in parentheses. So normally multiply would go first. However, this addition is in the parentheses, which automatically bumps it up on the list to go first. So we're going to take care of our addition first because the order of operations says if it's in parentheses, it goes first. And remember from the previous lesson that when we add those, remember the little kids going from classroom to classroom, right? They line up nice and neat. So we have to line up our place values for addition. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do here. We're going to do 0.48 plus 1.24. My decimal lines up with a decimal, ones place with ones place, tenths place with tenths place, thousandths place with thousandths place. I have to be really careful with that. And then I just go ahead and do my addition. 8 plus 4 is 12, carry over. 4 plus 2 is 6, plus the carryover is 7. Decimal comes straight on down, and 0 plus 1 is 1. So that completes that part. I'm going to bring down the part I haven't done yet. And now I have my new equation, 0.35 times 1.72. So I'm going to do my multiplication. Remember, I don't have to line these up nicely. I just kind of push them off to the side like we used to like to do when we were younger, because that's where the decimal was. That's why they had you do that before. And now you can see the decimal in different places, and that changes it. But I just kind of set it up like I used to do all the time. So I've got 0.35 times 1.72. I know I'm going to have 3 rows down here, so actually I'm looking at this like, I need more room. I'm going to be squishing up my math, so I'm going to move it up to here, I think. 0.35 times 1.72. All right, starting with my 2, and remember, I don't have to worry about my decimals right now. I just kind of ignore them like they're not there for now. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. 2 times 0 is 0. That takes care of my first row. For the next row, I've got to reach across 1, so I have to say that I'm reaching across 1. And then I do this, I distribute the 7. 7 times 5 is 35. 7 times 3 is 21, 22, 23, 24 on that carryover. 7 times 0 is 0 plus the 2 carryover is 2. Cross off that 7. Now I have to reach across 2 spots to get there, so I'm going to mark that on my next row. 2 spots going across. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 0 is 0. Add that all together. 0 plus 0 plus 0 is 0. 7 plus 5 is 12. 1 plus 4 is 5 plus 5 more is 10. 1 plus 2 is 3 plus 3 more is 6. And then 0. Now go back, and now's the time where we worry about those decimals. Until this point, we didn't really worry when we're multiplying. And now we go back and count them in. That's 1, 2 reaches across for that number, and 1, 2 reaches across for that number, for a total of 4 reaches across. So in my answer, my product, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 reaches across. The answer to the problem, 0.6020. You could also write that as 0.602 because this 0 is not sandwiched in by another number on the other side of it, so it's not holding a place, so I can drop him off there. That's how you do this. Hopefully that explains it well enough for you, but you've got your workshop that you can ask me questions for and my office hours. Feel free to use those.